started. Everyone ready? Thank you for coming. Thank you for making it. That's a good idea. Okay, cool. Let's see. You guys know this. This is a meeting where we're all talking about things. I'm going to say something, and you're going to say, "Wait, I know a better way," and then everyone will learn from you, which is great. So please talk about that. Please give us your suggestions. We are recording everything, so don't say client names. Pretty straightforward on that one. And let's all turn it on. I always forget this. This is the most important slide, honestly. I'll turn off my phone. Okay, cool. Let's see what else. Okay, we used to call this BOWA Way Field Day, but we're changing the name to Built the BOWA Way, which I think is cooler. I don't know. Anyway, Built the BOWA Way. Welcome. This is what we're going to cover today, starting with safety. We have Versatex here to show us some stuff about some of their new stuff and how you install that, and then a bunch of other stuff. So take it away, Jamie.
All right.
Thank you.
So I'll try and make this brief, guys. We start off with a funny slide. You can read it, get a chuckle. I'm not going to read it out loud. So safety, most importantly, we want everyone to get home to their families safe. That's our top priority, guys. Not the speed of the project, nothing else. We want everybody going home safe every day. Why do we talk about safety? Continued education. We're trying to get 1% better every day, guys. Part of that is being safe and keeping the extended BOWA family safe, which would be like our clients, subcontractors, vendors, and things of that. Safety comes first. Arrive safe, work safe, go home safe. So if there ever is an injury on site, guys, please, we need to be getting in contact with your PM on site first, and then attending to the injury and calling 911 if necessary. Not so much for you guys as much, but for the PMs or PDMs, we need to be letting the doctor or hospital know that it is a workers' comp claim. If you're injured, please let the doctor or the hospital know that it is a workers' comp claim when you're there. Always contact your PDM and Brittany Daly when any injury happens, even if you don't think you need immediate medical attention. So if you get hurt, guys, please let us know, so that if you end up going to the hospital 2 days later because that splinter you got in your finger is now crazy infected, we'll know, and it'll be a workers' comp claim. What's BOWA's role in safety is that everyone goes home safe every day. We need to be vigilant, guys. Safety depends on everyone. It's not just the PMs. If you see something that's not safe or someone asks you to do something that's not safe, you need to speak up, please. What can we do to help keep all of us safe? Knowing your project layout. So before we start busting our tools out and things, guys, let's just kind of get a lay of the land. Let's know what's going on with the project. If there's an elevator shaft, we should probably know where that is, things of that sort. Key risk areas, areas of fall, areas of struck by, things of that sort. Where's the first aid kit? Where are the fire extinguishers? We should know where those are. You can ask your PD or your PM. They should know where they are. Do you have your own PPE? You know, if you're doing demo, do you have your hard hat? Do you have your safety glasses? If not, you need to let your PM know first, please. Gloves, things of that sort. What will you do when a sub or a coworker is being unsafe? Speak up. Please say something to your PM. If your PM's telling you to do something that's not safe, then you need to let your PDM know. Do you know what to do in case of an emergency? That's something you should be reviewing with your PM at the beginning of each day. Okay, especially if you know you're going to be working on like a scaffold or on a roof or something like that, guys. Let's just think about it, talk about it beforehand. PPE or personal protective equipment. You guys are all familiar with all this stuff. Your hard hats, your eye protection, your ear protection, your gloves, your footwear, and your protective clothing. Okay, so we all need to be using our judgment for knowing when we need to be wearing this stuff. I mean, anytime you're cutting, you need to have on gloves, you need to have on eye protection. If we're working overhead or doing demo, we need to be wearing our hard hats, guys. You should have proper footwear on every day. I know not all of us are the best about that, you know, but you want to have electrical resistant shoes. You want to make sure they're puncture resistant, and a steel toe is great as well. Any questions on any of this so far, guys? Cool. All right. Few common things that we run across here on the job sites. We're going to go through that really quick. Safety on ladders. Guys, the top two steps of the ladders are not supposed to be stood on. If you need to stand on one of the top 2 steps of the ladder, then you need a bigger ladder. Electrical cords, if you guys see any cords on site, or if you have cords in your possession where it's damaged, that cord's no longer good. Bring it to your PM, we'll buy you a new cord. Strain relief fittings, as provided, are not properly used on the flexible cords. You can see here where it's starting to separate from the head. We also don't want to be hanging cords by nails or anything like that. That'll cause the cord to be damaged over time. Panel covers, guys. This doesn't really apply much to you guys, but if you do see a panel that's uncovered, one, be aware, okay? Don't be reaching in that panel. Don't be leaning ladders up against it. Bring it up to your PM, okay? Those need to be covered at the end of the day, or if someone's not working on it. Obviously, if the electrician's working on it, it's fine. But if for some reason we have an electrical panel that's open, that's unattended, we should be bringing it up to the PM, please. Tool safety, we've all seen it, pulling the spring out of the nail gun. It is a safety feature, it's worth it. I've been shot in the chest with a nail gun before on accident from someone else. So it happens. Here, jamming up the guards, guys. I know it makes it easier, but it's not the way that we should be doing things. If there's an accident, we could be missing a finger. No one wants that. Life safety. We already went over this. Do you know where the fire extinguisher is? We should have one for every 3,000 square foot of construction space. So at least one on most of our job sites. Custom, you guys are working in a lot bigger areas, so you're probably going to need multiple. Every floor and adjacent to each stairwell, and they must have current inspection tags. Usually they expire within about a year, guys. Scaffolds. So this is going to be the big topic for today. A lot of us are working on scaffolds. Probably every single person in this room is on a scaffold at least once or twice a year. It's a safe alternative to using a ladder. It's a more permanent alternative. We use interior and exterior scaffolding, aerial lifts outside. Let's get into it. We're gonna try and make this brief, guys. So there's 3 basic types of scaffolds. The one that we're mainly using, guys, is the supported scaffolds. You see these everywhere. They consist of a platform supported by rigid load-bearing members, such as poles, legs, frames, and outriggers. Suspended scaffolds, those are coming off the top of a parapet or a wall. We're not going to be using those very much on our jobs, but we should be aware of them. It's a platform suspended by ropes or other non-rigid overhead supports. And then aerial lifts, which is the booms with the basket, guys. We do use those seldom. They're known as cherry pickers or boom trucks. Competent person requirements. So a competent person is anyone who's been trained for this scenario, scaffolding. So all of the PMs, they have OSHA 10 certifications at this point. They would qualify as a competent person. Your role, guys, is if you see anything unsafe or you're being asked to work on a scaffold that's not safe, first of all, don't work on it. You need to report it to your PM. They would be the competent person on site, and they would be the one who would address the issue. Here, let me not skip through it, sorry. Competent person is someone who has the knowledge and experience required to identify existing and predictable hazards. They have the authority to eliminate unsafe working conditions. They have the authority to stop work if unsafe conditions exist. So that's where we'd want you guys to report something and be like, hey, there's a scaffold here, it doesn't have guardrails. You point that out to the PM, they should be stopping anyone from working on that until we fix the issue. They're also training employees who erect, dismantle, move, or alter scaffolds. They determine if it's safe for employees to work on or from a scaffold during storms or high winds. Not recommended, guys. And inspect scaffolds and scaffold components for visible defects before each work shift. The competent person inspects scaffolds for visible defects before each shift and after any alterations. Defective parts must be immediately repaired. So we see a good example there. A piece of the scaffold framing there is damaged. We should pull that, put a new piece in. Types of scaffolds. This is the fabricated frame scaffold. This is what we're going to see mostly on our sites, guys. A pump jack scaffold. This is typically used when we're doing siding, things like that, where you're working from the bottom up. A ladder jack scaffold. I don't think we're using these too much, but we may come across them, guys, certain scenarios. An interior mobile scaffold. We are using a lot of these guys. Trestle scaffold. May come across these. Top plate scaffold. Probably not going to see much of these on our jobs. Job built scaffolding that is improperly constructed is extremely hazardous, guys. We should not be constructing our own scaffolding. Various types and brands of interior and exterior scaffolding are commercially available. You can get them from Home Depot, Lowe's. We can also rent them from Sunbelt. Common hazards with scaffolding: defective wood planks and inadequate planking overhang. So the planking is what you're walking on, guys. If you're ever on a scaffold and notice that the planking is damaged, you need to get off that scaffold and report it to your PM, please. Unsafe access to scaffold, that would be how we're getting up to the scaffold. We should not be climbing up the cross members or anything like that. There should either be a ladder built into the scaffold, or we need to have another ladder that's secured to the scaffolding. Cross bracing not adequate. Those are your cross braces like this, guys. If any of those are missing, we need to know. Inadequate footings. That's what the scaffold is actually resting on the ground. Bridging of scaffolds. That's where we'll be going from one tower of scaffolding to another. Working within 10 feet of overhead power lines, guys. Always be aware of what's above you and around you, okay? We don't want an arc from a power line coming and hitting a scaffold. All employees must be trained prior to working on scaffolds, guys. That's what we're doing right here. Qualified person must conduct the training and include the following: electrical hazards, fall protection, falling object protection, proper use, material handling, and load carrying capacities. We're going to go through all that right now. Scaffolding that is more than 10 foot high or higher must be equipped with guardrails, guys. A competent person must supervise the setup and takedown of all scaffolding, and scaffolding must be fully planked, and planks must be secured so they cannot move. Erect and dismantle all scaffolds according to the manufacturer's instructions. Capacity must be 4 times the intended load. Load is you, your tools, materials, and anything else, guys. So think about that. Stable footings, we need a base plate, screw jacks, and mud sills. Scaffolds must be capable of supporting its own weight and at least 4 times the anticipated load. As I had previously mentioned, that includes your workers, your equipment, your tools, and materials. The front edge of all platforms must be within 14 inches of face of the work structure. So if your building's here, we don't want that front edge of the scaffolding more than 14 inches away, guys, okay? The planks must extend 6 to 12 inches past the end of supports or be cleated. So we either need this or this, guys. Base plate and mud sill are required. You need to be paying attention to where we're setting up scaffolding, guys. A lot of times scaffolding is set up, masonry work, stucco work, siding work, and stuff like that outside. So you need to be cognizant of mud, sand. If there's a trench nearby or anything like that, we want to make sure that the scaffold's actually seated properly on the ground. We don't want it to shift while someone's 20 feet up in the air. Masonry bricks and blocks are not acceptable scaffold bases, so this would not be acceptable, guys. Each platform on all working levels must be fully planked and secured to prevent movement. So all those boards that you're walking on need to be actually secured to the structure of the scaffolding. No more than a 1-inch space between the decking and upright supports. Wood scaffold planks must be a 2x10 or greater. And they must be scaffold grade planks or equivalent. They need to be branded like so on the sides of the scaffolding. It can't just be a piece of SPF 2x10, guys. Ladders, if they're needed to access the scaffold, is more than 2 feet. So if the scaffold's higher than 2 feet off the ground, we need to have a ladder to it. Obviously, that's pretty low. Do not climb the cross bracing, guys. You need to be using a ladder. if we do place a ladder that's not integrated into the scaffold, it needs to be secured to the scaffolding so it cannot shift while we're using it. OSHA permits direct access from another scaffold or structure or a personal hoist. Ladders are needed to access the scaffold if it is more than 2 feet tall, guys.
What angle on those ladders? What do you think?
Is that our 4 to 1? All right, guardrails, guys. These are important. Top rails, they need to be between 38 and 45 inches high. Guardrails, they need to be able to withstand 200 pounds of horizontal force. So that'd be a hip check, guys. Obviously, be careful if you're testing something. Mid rails need to be 75 to 150 pounds, depending on the top rail. Cross bracing is okay as a guardrail if in between 20 inches and 30 inches. And for a mid rail, if they're between 20 to 30 for mid rail, 38 to 48 for top rail. Apologies. We need to protect all of our workers from falling objects, all workers on scaffolds, and especially below, guys. We need to be wearing hard hats, okay? Beware of what's above you. Another note of falling objects, guys, and personally I don't think this slideshow goes over it enough, is we need toe kicks on the scaffolding, guys. So that if there's, you put your tools or materials down on the scaffold, you don't actually kick it off and then onto someone else. All right, so this is showing where our top rail is and our mid rail. Technically, this cross bracing is counting as our top rail in this scenario, okay? So that's good. How many hazards do we think we see in this photo? We already saw this one photo. It's an easy one. Someone, say it.
2. I see 2 so far.
2? Okay. Venture to say what they are?
Is the cement blocks.
Yep.
The support.
It's not proper support.
Not nailed into the mud sill.
Correct.
Well, you can't really tell, I guess.
What are we calling out on the upper part there? Yeah.
I think it's just another block over on the far side.
Ah, the far block, got it. Yeah, all the blocks, those are not acceptable. All right, this one, pretty bad. Pretty bad. We should not be using a pallet as the support for our scaffolding here, guys. And then also look at the amount of stuff that they got stacked up on there. There's probably masonry blocks.
I like that window flashing too.
If you're ever standing on a plank and it's doing this, guys, get off. That's not going to work. Also, not acceptable, taking 2 horses, stacking them up on top of each other, on top of the scaffold. All right. I don't think they were taking into account the amount of weight that they were adding on top of the scaffolding, guys. You add a person on top of that, it's liable to break. Again, what do we see here? Okay, we're not supposed to be standing on a paint can, let alone stacking up 5 of them as our scaffold. Again, they're using masonry blocks here as support for the scaffolding. That is not an acceptable avenue. Not good. Not good, guys. This guy is not... Oh, there's a lot of things wrong with this one, guys. One, he needs a ladder up to the roof, not even concerning the ladder. 2, I mean, what do you guys think is missing from this photo? There's a lot.
Not tied off.
Not tied off. What's missing from the scaffolding? There's no crossbars. Toe kick. I'm sure it's not even seated correctly on the ground. We've got no mid rail. We've got no top rail. I think about everything that could be wrong with this scaffolding is wrong. If you see a plank like this, guys, we need to get it out of there. All right, what do we see wrong here?
Wood, 1-inch gap.
Split wood, the planks are no good, and then the way they have the planks placed, no good. It shouldn't be larger than a 1-inch gap. I don't even know if this qualifies as scaffolding. Wow. Yeah, no, they were using, yeah, wow. I don't even think we need to discuss that one. All right, this looks much better, guys. So we've got proper planks. They're overhung off the edges of the scaffold support properly. There's no gaps in between. And then we've also got our toe kick there. So this is what our scaffolding should be looking like, guys.
Doesn't have a mid-rail.
Emil. Good job, Emil. He's right. There's no mid-rail. Pump jack. All right, so we should be using personal fall arrest systems with ladder jack scaffolds. Okay, guys, because there's no rails or anything like that. Aerial lifts or boom lifts or approved personal lift baskets on rough terrain, forklifts. They are a safe alternative to working from ladders or other types of scaffolding. Most often, aerial lifts are used for installing windows, soffit, fascia, gutters, siding, things of that sort, cornice. So that's what it looks like. We're all familiar. All right, this is your cage that we are supposed to be only working within that cage. And there's your controls for the lift there. A competent person should be able to restrict operation of aerial lifts or forklift vehicles to trained and authorized personnel. They should only be using commercially built personal baskets designed for lifting workers. Do not make one out of a pallet and 2x4s, guys. I've seen that a lot. We need to be following the American National Standard Institute's standards for using personal lift baskets. We need to make certain that homemade boxes lifted by a forklift are not used. Homemade boxes are not acceptable. We've all seen them, guys. When in the lift, we need to be wearing a full body harness, guys. Those things can shift. And if it shifts a little bit at the bottom, guys, you got to think about how much it's going to be shifting at the top. It will throw you from the basket if things move. We need to attach the lanyard to the boom or an approved anchor point inside of the basket. This is the way it should be, guys. When in the lift, always stand on the floor of the basket. Do not climb up on the rails. If you need to climb up on the rails, then you need to move the lift. Do not sit or climb on the edge of the basket, lean over the edge, or climb out of the basket. Do not use a ladder or other objects to increase your reach. If you're bringing the ladder up in the basket, you've made the wrong choice. When operating the lift, stay at the controls at all times. Do not move the vehicle while a person is in the elevated basket. I have seen someone get thrown from a lift while moving the lift from the basket. Again, if it moves at the base a little bit, you got to think about how much it's going to be moving at the end of the boom. Only use the equipment when it's on stable and level ground. Maintain the required minimum clearance of 10 feet from power lines carrying 50 kilovolts or less. Stay 10 feet away from any power lines, guys. This is why a harness is necessary, guys. Probably saved that guy's life. All right, I made it quick. Any questions? Questions? Cool.
Nice, thank you.
I hand it off to you.
Yeah, for a sec.
All right.
Coming up. Here we go. Thank you. We've got Matt coming all the way to Tyson's. John. Okay, good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Forward.
Yeah, that's the one here.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. Well, my name is Jonathan McGorn. I'm the area sales manager for Versatex. We're going to go through a couple things. The first couple things is going to be a little bit about Versatex. And we're going to go through one of our newer products that we wanted to show you guys. Go through it kind of quickly, show you some ideas, some different things you can do with it. You guys are using it on a couple of jobs right now. And then we'll kind of go into some best practices, install techniques for you guys. Going through these ones briefly. Versatex is still 100% dedicated to the PVC category. It allows us to come up with these new inventions, these new creations to kind of help you guys on the job site. We come up with the stuff that we come up with because of talking with you guys and me coming out, interacting with you guys, and learning about what's on the what's going on out in the field, and how can we improve it. So continue to let us know what you guys are seeing out there, how we can help adjust, what we need to add, and what you guys are kind of getting the feedback on out there. Same reason you guys know why you're using PVC. PVC doesn't rot, warp, swell, or delaminate. You can work with PVC the same way you've been working with any other wood. You can laminate it, cut it, saw it, screw it, mill it. You don't need any special tools. There's no knots, grains, or inconsistencies, and weather resistant, and also impervious to insects. People kind of forget about that sometimes as well too. Your carpenter bees that are big around here, same with termites, things like that. You won't have any issues with PVC unlike other products out there. And then this is just to show you the last thing that not all PVCs are different. You know, the PVC that you go pick up from TW Perry and JJ is different than the PVC that you're going to go pick up from your Home Depot or your Lowe's or anyone else. The Versatex is going to start that white color, that high-end white color, and it has a lifetime warranty that's going to stay that white color for the longevity of it. It's basically because it has UV inhibitors into it that when sun hits it, it bounces that rays off. So it doesn't turn like a grayish color like those other ones to the left. Those ones will actually start gray, and they'll turn consistently more gray over time, or yellow, as they kind of get more exposure to the sun. So with that all being said, because Versatex does everything the right way, we're able to offer a full lifetime warranty that's fully transferable and non-prorated to our customers. Any questions about PVC or Versatex in that sense? No? Okay. Like I said, it's pretty informal, just like Doug said too. If you have anything, you do something a different way, shout out. Let's talk about it, open dialogue on that. So the Canvas series. Canvas series is one of our newer products. It's been out for about 8 years. It's really taken off over the last couple. Basically, we've taken our high-end PVC products. Let's go around this way. We put a wood laminate on top of it. It's not a new laminate. It's the same laminate that people have been using on vinyl windows for about the last 30 years. We just put it on top of a PVC product. So it gives you that look of wood, but none of the maintenance aspects of using the wood. You don't need to stain this, you don't need to paint this. From a homeowner's point of view, they don't have to keep up with it. Carpenter bees that'll eat your wood, they won't touch this stuff, so it's an alternative to that. There's two different profiles of it. Let me snag one of those up the top for you real quick. So there's two different profiles. You have your 1/2-inch beadboard, you have your 3/4-inch WP4 V-groove is what we call this one. For you guys, the main difference between the two of these is going to be install. So with this, it's a 1/2-inch. This is whether you're using our canvas boards with this laminate or you're using the white bead board that we have. Anytime you're working with 1/2-inch of PVC, the install should always be 12 inches on center for your joists. 1/2-inch of PVC, 1/2, 12 inches is how I always remember. It's the only PVC board that needs to be 12 inches on center. Everything else, your 5/8, your 3/4, your 1/by, your 5/4, all that's good to be 16 inches on center like you typically do, but 1/2 inch should always go 12 inches on center. I've seen people get away with going 16 inches and you're fine 99% of the time, but the issues you do come up with when you do 12 inches on center are you're never gonna have that issue. So with a board like the canvas or with the white PVC board, you have this nailing flange here. This nailing flange is so you can put a finishing nail or a staple. I recommend staples, 1/2 inch wide by 1.5 inches long. Crown staple really grabs a hold of this flange really nicely. And the next board slides in over top of that board, so it becomes a hidden fastening look to it. The next board we have is the WP4 or V-groove, what we call it. Just like a regular tongue and groove board. These come 18 feet long. Your first board goes in. You're probably going to have to face screw this first one, and I'll talk about how to do that after. And then you're going to want to shoot again, I like to prefer the staple over a nail at a 45-degree angle, so it hits this tongue through the board and into your joist. Next board then slides in over top of it and becomes a hidden fastening look for this as well. That's the one way to do it, probably the most common way. We've also come up with these boxes called the VZ clips. Again, these can be used for the canvas series or for just white under the board. Not for the 1/2 inch, only for this 3/4 inch V groove. This board, almost like a decking clip that you guys are familiar with. The clip goes into the joist there. Next board slides in over top of it, so it becomes a hidden faceting look. Again, with this getting screwed into the joists and the boards kind of fastened together like that.
What's the advantage of using the clips?
Couple advantages. First advantage would be, you never know, sometimes someone has the PSI set too high and the staple or the nail gun blow through this. This, especially this canvas, it's an expensive board. So blow through one of these with the staple or nail gun, you're ruining the board. That's the first way. The second way, some people just find it easier to line these up and not have to worry about what kind of angle I'm hitting this at and make sure it's hidden. Just preference, guys that have been using these a long time, comfortable with the nail staple gun, they know their PSIs right, they know what the angles they're going to shoot at. Some guys need to make a jig to angle this perfectly in the nail gun, shoot them, then you're good to go. Someone a little bit less experienced, this is always a great option. Only reason why I don't like these over just straight nailing it or stapling it, when you're doing that, this board isn't really holding that board in place. It almost becomes like a floating ceiling, essentially. So it's going to have a little bit more expansion and contraction because these boards aren't fastened into your ceiling joists. These boards are this is fastened in there and it just clips on it. So it becomes a little bit more of a floating system. If you staple it, everything's directly in there. It's going to hold it a lot more tight. So if you have a lot of butt joints, I wouldn't recommend these. If you have a 12-foot run and you're just doing solid board all the way across, or 18-foot run with one solid board, those are also a good option for that. The other thing with the canvas series is on the butt joints. Here's a couple of pictures. You can use them for like accent walls around windows, underneath decks. The far right one's actually a cigar lounge, an indoor cigar lounge at a residential house. But butt joints on these are always a big issue. Not a big issue, but a question. So obviously, anytime you have a wood laminate and you have white underneath of it, if this board comes over top a little bit, or if you have any kind of drip edge on that, you're going to see white. We have end cut daubers, basically. It's a little bingo dauber that has paint inside of it. You take that paint, you hit the top 1/4 inch of those boards. That way, if there's any kind of dip or any kind of overlap on these, it just looks like PVC all the way through instead of a white board. You can kind of see an example of that on here, this black one. These corners that we have, if you don't put the color match in this edge of this corner here, and it's not perfectly lined up, you can see that white kind of showing through there. Versus this edge here that I filled in with a black marker, you can't really see this corner edge here. It looks a lot more tight, and you won't be able to see that white kind of stick out like a sore thumb. But anytime you're working with these canvas products, just be cognizant of these edges on here. Make sure you have some kind of color match or some kind of paint that's going to match that edge coat. We make one that matches all of them. If you go to like Home Depot or you go to Lowe's, they have the called Versatex markers. They're like little cabinet markers. A lot easier to use because they're actual little markers. You can use those to hit all those corner edges, and it looks a lot tighter and nicer. Yes.
How do they perform with sun exposure? I know that at times we have issues with PVC just vents.
Yeah. So the what's on here, like I said, it's a vinyl window, same laminate they're using on vinyl windows. So what it does is it actually is a UV inhibitor into this laminate, so it reflects off the sun onto there. I've left this one out at trade shows at Perry's for 6 hours at times. It won't heat up more than like 5 degrees to your hand at your touch. So it does a very good job of bouncing off rays. I had someone else that didn't, 99% of the time, before we came out with these new inventions, it was used as a soffit or underneath of a ceiling, so it wasn't getting direct sun exposure. But I've had guys use it for stuff like that before, and that's when they want to know more about the sun exposure. I've had someone leave it on top of a roof for like 2 years and cover half of it, leave half of it unexposed, and there's no fade or anything that really happens to the product. It wasn't heated up basically the same way.
Can they be painted?
It could be painted, I guess, in theory. It's a laminate, it's on top of there. It'd be like paying for TimberTech decking and then throwing a coat of paint on over top of it. 99% of the time, people aren't going to do that, but I guess in theory you could paint it if you wanted to. Yeah.
Does it lose warranty if you decide to paint it?
Does this lose warranty?
Yeah.
So we were talking about this before. I got your paint question at the very end. I have a paint section at the end. We'll save it for then. That work? Okay, cool. We'll save the paint for the very end. I would say, just be simple, don't paint the canvas series. The canvas series is meant to be the color that it is with the laminate on top of there. Make that simple. Some other pictures and stuff of kind of how it's used. Easily to make can lights in there, used with fans, infrared heaters, all that stuff is perfectly good to use with the Canvas series on there. Some other compliments that we made to the Canvas series are the molding. So we have a crown mold and bed mold to finish off your edges. There's a couple ideas and pictures of your bed mold, and then your crown mold on the edge there to kind of finish off the edges so that you don't have any butts going into your side there. It will have some expansion contraction. You put those bed molds or the crown molds up, it'll hide the expansion contraction behind those moldings instead of as a seam. The Canvas series has been so popular for us over the last 8 years that we've expanded the line. So we now make a 1x8 and a 1x12 trim board to add some complements to the pieces there. So on this picture here, you can see there's a 1x12 with a crown mold with a beaded ceiling on top of it. A tip for you guys on that is obviously we talked about for these, it's super simple. You have the hidden fastener on there. For the crown mold, you're just going to use a finishing nail to shoot through there. But how are you going to install those 1x8s or 1x12s without having a nail or a screw sticking out of there? So just like we've always had these for our white PVC trim, the screws and plugs, where you screw it at countersinks, you put the plug in. We now make these with all 9 of our colored laminates onto it. So like I was saying before, if you need to face nail this first board here, or face screw this first board here, that's fine. You take one of these plugs, matches it up there, and then if you need to do trim boards around there as well too, you can use the plugs and get them finished on there. Another thing that we've expanded the line to is our column wraps. So you guys buy our white column wraps right now? You do? Okay. So our white column wraps, you guys are all familiar with. They come inside out, flat like this, 1 per box. You unfold them. You put some PVC glue. This might be a tip. We weren't going to talk about this, but just a tip. So when you take the PVC glue, you don't want to get those, the really thick, like painter's brush type of PVC boxes or tubes. You want to get kind of the squeeze tube is a little bit better because it produces a lot less glue. You don't want to put it in this middle ridge here. You want to put it in either this ridge here or this ridge here, not both of them, because PVC glue doesn't stick together. So you want to put a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, and then they close shut with a friction joint. And if I close this right now, without any glue, you wouldn't be able to pull it apart. So the glue is just like an extra little precautionary thing. You don't need a whole glob of it, just very little glue each one of those seams, and it snaps shut. Wait 5 minutes, you peel the tape off, and then you're good to go. They have really nice clean edges on there. So that's the regular Versatex.
Do you recommend that it's the Christie's Way Hot?
Christie's Red Hot white version or Weld On 705. I think you guys have both of those. Yeah, both of those. Weld On 705 or Christie's Red Hot white.
You don't specify Christie's.
Yeah. So either one of those are good. Those are good PVC to PVC glue. Like I said, very, very little for those. What's different about this one that we made is it is actually 4 pieces, 2 males and 2 females. So because we want to get the laminate inside each one of these grooves so you don't have any kind of pop open or you don't see that white, we made them 2 females, 2 males, 4 pieces. They interlock just the same way, and they have that friction joint so they hold close. We make an accent wrap for them as well too, a 4-piece accent wrap. That goes on top. And then just like we make our white, so for a crown kit, the bed kit, and the base kit, if you want to do white, they come in a bag like this, pre-cut, pre-mitered, dovetail Hoffman notches, snap together. We do the same things for the laminate colored ones. Males, females, dovetail Hoffman notches, everything goes together. It sits on top of it. So that's the Canvas series for the column wraps, essentially. They're awesome to, like I said, add some color to a job that, you know, you don't want to have to paint it. If you have the laminate, you have the UV inhibitor to it. And that's just some pictures and stuff of what those jobs look like with the wraps, along with the ceiling. A couple more there. That picture up there is with the 1x8, kind of making a faux beam look to it, with the base molding, the wrap. Those ones over there, people kind of use the carpentry. They're taking the 1x12s, cutting them down. The nice thing about the 1x12s and 1x8s for you guys too is the laminate comes up. It's 3 sides. The laminate comes up around this side and around the back, or up around this side, around the back. So you're able to kind of make these edges on the board there and there, and down there. So they kind of come all the way around. This is just another option if you're out in the field, how to hide your butt joints. Obviously, PVC industry, everything moves a little bit. So how can you hide those expansion contraction joints? This is a great way. You can see this project, they already have the countersinks in there. So whenever they get the plugs, they're going to fill those plugs in with the color match. They took a 1x8, I think, in this situation. They cut it down a little bit to make a pocket essentially out of it. Added the color match to the edge there. They'll put the next piece in, put some glue there, and put the two pieces together so they're not going to pull apart. And if there is any kind of overlap or seam, you're going to see color throughout. And then when this beadboard has expansion contraction, it's going to happen behind that pocket joint and not at the seam. Any questions on that? Any questions on the Canvas series as a whole? That was kind of all I had for the Canvas series. Like I said, I know you guys have a couple jobs going on right now. The big takeaways, I would say, is make sure if you have any kind of butt edge, you have some kind of color on the edges there so they don't come, when they come apart, you're not going to see the white, and glue your butt joints together so that they stay apart at the butt and they can move and expand at the sides there. All right. So then just some basic best practice install for you guys. How do you guys fastening right now typically? If you have a white piece of PVC trim, a 5/8 by 6, what's the most common way you're fastening it, I'd say? Anyone? Screws and plugs, nails, are you just gluing it? Are you putting tape on it? What are you doing?
Use stainless steel trimming screws.
Trim, okay.
And number 7s.
Okay, and then are you guys painting it on top of it usually? Even if it's just white?
Always.
Always painting.
Always painted.
And it's even if it's just white.
Correct. Yeah. We gave up on that a long time ago.
The what? Leaving it without paint?
Yeah.
Why is that?
All the filler, mismatch, the trim accessories that don't always come from Versatex, change a different color.
Gotcha. Okay.
Fillers,
Makes sense.
joints, hard clean, edges.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything
So,
else?
so if you're gonna use nails, the 8D nails are designed for wood. Thin shanks, blunt points, those are always a good nail to use. I would stay away from 16 or 18 gauge nails. Anything you can bend in your fingers isn't strong enough to hold PVC from moving left or right. If you can bend it in your finger, it's not going to be able to hold the PVC from going back and forth. Obviously, stainless steel or fasteners are preferred over galvanized, so you won't have as much of the rust leakage. 7D trim screws, I think you talked about, also a good screw to use for those. You can put it into masonry or concrete using the Tapcon screws. And anytime you're using, hitting something like that in, you want to use those hammers for that. I know you said you guys don't do that right now. You're using the nails. If you guys ever have something, even if you do something small and you're not going to paint it, the Cortex are a good option for that, so you don't have those fillers. The Cortex screws come with basically little kits like this that have these. Countersink it with one of the screw bits here. And then the screws plug in over top of it, so it becomes hidden, not fastening. You don't have to worry about the fillers. You didn't want to paint it in some scenarios, you wouldn't have to there. Another thing you touched on was kind of those uncut edges, those unsealed edges. Another little trick for the trade on how to seal off your edges. So if you get this part of the PVC, obviously bad example. If you get like,
I got a piece over here.
you have a piece over here?
Yeah. This is off of one of the jobs we're doing right now.
Okay,
It's a scrap
perfect.
piece, so you got the edge there.
So if you get this part of it dirty, it's very, very hard to clean off. It's an open exposed pore end of it. Versus if you're on this edge right here, if you get this dirty, you can just wipe it off very cleanly. Everything kind of wipes off. Even this green that was on there, everything wipes off, right? As soon as you get that on these edges here, it's not going to wipe off. So the way to get these edges that kind of have a finish like this is if you carry with you 320 grit sandpaper. 320 grit sandpaper, you hit these edges really, really hard. What happens is it heats these cells up and then closes them off. So they won't kind of grab onto a lot of the dirt, the dust, the debris that's on there. If you want to take it a step further, you guys carry acetone with you at a job site ever. So if you put a little bit of acetone on a rag, after you hit that with sandpaper, you put a little acetone on a rag, you hit that edge again, it'll kind of give it a little bit of a shine kind of feel to it. So it really closes those edges up. Again, if you're going to paint it, does it really matter? Probably not. But if you're not going to paint it, say if you guys want to start going that route, using the plugs And then if you have, you know, a deck fascia that's coming down like this, that's obviously that edge is going to get super dirty. Just take your sandpaper, hit that bottom edge, put some acetone on there. You're not going to have that issue. Same thing with the stair riser. If you have your decking board that doesn't cover over the top of that edge, if you just have it butt there, you have that exposed edge, it's going to get walked on all the time and get really dirty. Hit it with some sandpaper, 320 grit, a little bit of acetone, and it really seals those edges up for you. Have you guys ever heard that before? Okay, so that's a good little tip for there. 320 grit sandpaper and acetone on a rag. If you do get any dents, impressions in these boards, not like big gashes or gouges, but kind of little dents and impressions in there. If you take a heat gun, you guys might have already known this one. If you take a heat gun and you kind of hover it over it a little bit, it'll actually pull those impressions back out of it. Almost like a memory foam kind of board. It kind of pulls them back out. You don't want to sit there and hit it really hard. It'll turn into like a fried egg looking thing. But if you just hover over it, you'll see it. You can look up videos online of like PVC heat gun or Versatex heat gun. You'll see people just gash up the board for demonstration, take a heat gun, go over top of it, kind of pulls everything back out. So it's kind of creative. So, you know, another way to kind of save a board, another reason why people are painting it sometimes is because there's gashes and stuff not in there. How can we save it? Put a heat gun on top of there to pull some of those out for you. So a couple other fastening tips for you guys. No matter what kind of fastener you're using, you always want to make sure you're penetrating the substrate 1.25 inches. So usually you want at least a 2-inch kind of nail. If you're doing a 3/4 inch or larger, or some kind of fastener, it wants to go in 1.25 inches. 2 inches max from the edge of the board is recommended, so you don't want to go too far away. This end right here will have more expansion contraction. The nail gun that we talked about, keeping between 80 and 100 will guarantee that you're not going to shoot through any of these boards. And then obviously if you're drilling with a temperature under 40, you might need to pre-drill. That doesn't come up too often, but just be cognizant of what temperature it is. And then this is the big one for fastening schedule. Have you guys ever seen a schedule like this for PVC, or do you guys follow this right now at all? Okay. So this basically means, this is talking for any board 5/8 and bigger. So your 5/8, your 1/by, your 5/4, your 8/4, anything like that. Always want to be 16 inches on center. So every 16 inches you want your screws or nails or however you're fastening it. Depending on how wide this board is, how many fasteners you're going to want to have every 16 inches. So if you're doing a 5/8 by 4/18, you want to have 2 fasteners every 16 inches and so on and so forth. If you're doing a big fascia and you have a 12-inch wide board, you want to put 3 to 4 fasteners every 16 inches and so on and so forth. So if you follow that schedule and you use the correct screws and plugs, the expansion contraction you get from PVC should be very, very minimal. That's a good way to kind of gauge that. And like I said, anytime you're using 1/2 inch PVC, 12 inches on center is your spacing. Anything bigger, which is probably 90% of what you guys are using, 16 inches is good. Any questions on the fastening schedule? Okay.
Is that available to us anywhere or just online?
That schedule.
I can do that. I have books I can give you guys for it. It's not in these. We have like a little contractor handbook. If you even just type in, like, if you look on Google,
Yeah,
like,
There's actually Versatex instructions in the book I
That's
gave
what
you.
I was
I don't
asking.
remember if that's in it.
it should. We even have that for a while. If not, I can even send you a little screenshot of that. You can even just throw them in there if you want. Yeah, we can get that for you.
Good question.
Filling nail holes. This would be important for you guys. You said you're doing some nails and painting it. The DAP Platinum patch is a great nail hole filler. Again, if you're not going to paint it, another way to kind of fill those holes without kind of showing it is if you get the PVC dust that kind of kicks up and you mix that in with your nail hole filler, or I've even seen people use like a seal, mix some PVC dust in there. The Versatex PVC dust mixed with that will actually kind of give you a really close color match to this. I've seen it happen sometimes. There's never really been a good nail filler. We've recommended a couple over the years, and 3 to 5 years down the line, they turn yellow. We've even tried to come up with one ourselves. We've never been able to come up with one that 3 to 5 years doesn't turn a yellow brownish color. And then the Starborn or Cortex plugs, if you're going to deal with that plug system, are your best bets for that. The important thing for this is just knowing what you're trying to adhere PVC to. So Christie's Red Hot, I think the labeling, I think it's way more updated. They don't look like that anymore, right? Yeah, they're like more updated. That's a really old one. But Christie's Red Hot or Weld-On 705, those are the best PVC to PVC adhesives. So when you're doing PVC to PVC, you don't want to put glue and glue. You want to put glue to PVC. So you don't need to glue both sides when you're doing PVC to PVC. And those are the best two adhesives for that. And this is what I was talking about. This is good if you're just doing like little pieces like this together. If you're doing the column wraps or smaller pieces, you want to use more of the squeeze tubes like that to squeeze it out. You can use a lot less of it. It doesn't get all gunked up on there. If you're doing PVC to wood, so that's, I recommend if you're doing these for ceilings, if you're using like an OSB or something like that, you would put the PVC to the OSB along with still fastening with screws or nails. The PVC to wood adhesives, which is PL Premium Trim Welder or NP Solar Seal, are going to be your best bets for that. PVC to wood adhesive, it's a little bit different. And then PVC to metal, PVC to concrete, both for NPC Solar Seal and Trim Welder. So just knowing what you're adhering PVC to is going to help you out. Not all of them work the same. They all have different kind of chemical ingredients. The only thing you don't want to use when you're using adhesives is silicone. Silicone and PVC don't match up very well. All right, so this was the big topic, so the painting. So with painting PVC, it does not need to be painted like a lot of other trim alternatives like a fiber cement or your poly fly ash or wood composites. It does not need to be painted, but if you do want to paint it, you just use 100% latex acrylic or latex acrylic with a urethane additive paint. Sounds complicated. Any paint manufacturer carries that stuff. Paint actually lasts 4 to 5 times longer on PVC than wood because there's no moisture that gets added to it. Obviously, you paint wood, the water gets into the wood, pushes the paint out. With that, there's no PVC that's not going to have, or PVC is not going to absorb any water, so it doesn't push the paint out. So it lasts a lot longer. So it's a good option. Usually about 20 to 25 years. I've seen like 30 years and stuff. PVC and wood, or PVC and paint will go together. The only thing when you're painting your PVC is following this light reflective value schedule. So if you think of it on like a scale of like 0 to 100, 0 is black, 100 is white. Simple. So 0 is black, 100 is white. These color numbers match up. So the further you get up to white, the higher the number is. The further you get down to dark, the lower the number is. If you have an LRV, that means light reflective value of 50 or less, it's going to be too dark to paint PVC. That means whenever you paint it black, the stuff that makes this PVC basically UV inhibit is no longer there. It's like having a black car seat versus you have a car seat like this. This car seat's not going to get very hot, but a black car seat's going to get very, very hot. So when you add black paint, it's going to heat the PVC up, and it'll start to warp, oil can kind of get waves to it. If you have an LRV above 50, 50 to 100, you're good to go. If you look on the back of any paint fan or paint manufacturer, even if you just go on Google and you type in, what is the LRV of Sherwin-Williams Heritage Blue, it'll tell you what the LRV is. So that's how you can know. So make sure you stay above those colors if you're going to paint on site. Now, we have worked with PPG to create a paint that is approved for these darker colors. It basically has a UV inhibitor. Even though the light reflective value is low, the UV inhibitor will bounce the paint off. That's a quick question I'll have to ask the engineers that both of you had. What happens to the warranty of that? Because obviously Versatex themselves, we don't technically warranty that this product's not going to warp and cause waves to it. Because 9 times out of 10, if it's white and it's causing that warp, it's because it's installed incorrectly. We don't cover install, we cover the actual product rotting or delaminating or losing the white color. So I'll have to, that's a good question I'll ask. If it does warp and they use the PPG paint that's approved, who's technically responsible for it? But I've had people use these in the past and not have any issues with it. The only thing is whenever you apply these, they're usually not just like paint cans that you can just dip your paintbrush in and do it. You need to be field applied, or they can be pre-field applied, or if they're getting field applied, you usually need a spray and kind of a setup to do that, but it can be done if needed. So you can go dark colors if needed. That's also why we have products like this and this that have these dark colors on them, provide you the look of the wood and the dark colors, but none of the PVC option, or none of the light reflective issues. Any questions? That was my last slide. Any questions on PVC stuff you guys are seeing out in the field? Ideas you have for me?
Is our 15 gauge trim nails okay?
Yeah, 15 gauge are good. You usually can't bend those with your fingers. Those are pretty good. Depends how strong you are. Anyone else? Does someone else have something out there?
It's like the price difference between the canvas or just standard white.
JJ, do you have an answer for that one?
25, 30%.
Yeah, I would say it's a good average. 25 to 30%.
Canvas is definitely not cheap.
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap.
Probably cheaper than painting though.
If somebody
That's
wants to
not
go with like the dark canvas,
Mhm.
would you guys do a siding application?
Yeah, we've had people like, now granted it's a very expensive option to line your house in this. We make a PVC siding now. It's a brand new product, and maybe next year we do this again. We'll talk about our PVC siding. So that's an option. But I have had people use this for siding and accent walls, and there's no issue with that at all.
So make sure you use the 3/4, not the half.
Yep, the 3/4 inch, not the 1/2 inch. I would say, you know, and like I say, this is definitely more expensive than the white, but the alternative then to just buying white and painting it, or buying even another product, paying for the stain or the labor, and then, or the stain of the paint and then the labor for the stain and paint, that's when this stuff makes a lot more sense from a homeowner's point of view. If they're just gonna go white, it's like, they're not gonna see the cost difference, but if they want color, then they'll understand the difference between the costs on those.
I was just thinking for like the darker trims.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's one of the reasons why we have the 1x8s, the 1x12 now, to kind of try to help some of those issues with that. Anything else? Any other questions? No? I'll leave some of my cards out there too. Please feel free. I know you guys, obviously, Doug's a good expert at this. If you guys are on the field and you have questions, or you need me to come by a job site, you run into something you haven't seen before, please give me a call, email, text. I'll come out to the job site, check on what's going on. I see you guys' signs up all the time. I know where a lot of your jobs are at. I cover Virginia, Maryland, DC. So please feel free to use me as a PVC resource, Versatex resource, whatever I can do to help. All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
We are, if our pizza's here, we're taking a break.
Okay.
I don't know. Can someone find out if our food's here yet? All right. And, otherwise you probably can go ahead and pack up. We just have a clicker here somewhere, yeah. Cool. It's all good.
Do you have anyone that would want, you think, wants samples in there, the colors?
If you want to wander over to our design department, someone might be able to take you over there. But I don't. Thank you, though. That was really helpful.
Yeah, I'll get an answer for you on the one.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. I don't know. Like I said, I called them and they said don't. Well, is it? Depends on what you do and don't want to. Anyway, it's all good.
You guys tried the painting of it, and then I think we tried that color. You just didn't go down around.
I don't think we might have a few years ago when you could still get it around here, but ever since it's like a special order.
Yeah. So if you guys get that, you do it at 5%.
Yeah. All right, how are we doing? Go ahead. Well, you feel free to keep backing up. I'm just going to go on to the next one. Yeah. Do we have parking garages? We do. Yes. Victoria. Hey, can I run through a couple other quick things on PVC while we're waiting to see if our food's here yet? Okay, cool. So, have you guys seen this before with these gaps? Actually, Alex, you probably literally fixed these several times. Yes, on that house. This is the only issue with PVC. Like, it's obviously, it doesn't rot, it doesn't fall apart, but it does move around a lot. And we've had a bunch of issues with it. And we just talked about this. We actually, this year, lost $5,000 replacing PVC that was painted a not very dark gray, like a medium gray color. And it worked like an effort. Go ahead, Paul.
No, we have success using business ones, PVC.
Well, you can do whatever you want, but don't paint it dark.
No, that works. But on dark paint, it gets work.
Yeah, I don't do that. I'll just send it as categorically. That's a yeah. we've done like 18 different things with PVC and like making the joints work, and then the board rips itself in half 10 feet away when it gets pulled out. So I don't think that's the right answer. So I don't know. Has anyone tried that? Does anyone remember the Moran project? Probably a lot of us have funny memories about the Moran project. What's that?
I thought we were not supposed to say the name.
You're right. Shame on me, and my phone rang too. Whose phone's ringing, by the way? Put your phone on silent. Someone's phone's been beeping this whole time. All right. Anyway, this is what happened. I mean, this is what can happen. This is 1/2 inch. So first of all, this is why they say don't use 1/2 inch on the vertical. They want that on the ceiling where it won't get the sun at all. And then this is, you're always supposed to install this 12 inches on center, but it's not installed 12 inches on center. It's 16 inches on center. And you can see how much it moved. That cost us a lot of money. So I don't know. Keep an eye on that. Now we know. I didn't know this before. I mean, I didn't know that until we did it wrong. Then we found out.
Could it
Mhm.
help if we just ran a sheet of plywood underneath?
I don't know if that couldn't have hurt, but the fact that we painted it dark, it might have just popped out the other way. I don't know. Anyway, 12 inches on center, no. Yeah, and then this, you can see this picture over here. This one, you can see that's what I see when you like glue it the heck out of it and screw the heck out of it and make the joints all tight. Then it moves around and it just pops in half anyway. Because there's a lot of force involved. And there's a house we did, it isn't even that big, it's like a 12-foot long thing. And they screwed all the ends and screwed it all the way across. And then the clients heard this really loud noise and they went out and it was like a 1/4 inch gap right in the middle. It just the board ripped itself apart. It might not have been Versatex though, I will say that. That guy used to buy anything. So, you know, I called Versatex. I said, "What is it still warranted if we use this vinyl safe paint?" And it says, "No. If the LRV isn't over 55, it's not warranted." So you can see this one, it's 14. It's supposed to be over 55. So I don't know. So my answer is don't use it. Use boral or wood.
That was from that project, the gray color? Was it 14?
No, I'm just saying like as an example. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that's my 2 cents on PVC. Good product. We use a lot. I'm happy with it, but don't paint it dark. Okay, looks like our food's here. Let's go get dinner. Cool. Thanks, John. Thank you. We're cheering for dinner. Nice job. Yay, dinner. Do you need a hand carrying stuff
They tell me.
So I heard, the only one that we're waiting on is, together.
You got Mason, right? Mason? It was, something, it was not cheaper than lunch.
Is he leading this? I'm not sure what he's doing. I think he might. We should probably move it out. So he can lead it. Put this stuff out here somewhere.
They only wanted the canvas sample to give the designers.
Yeah, that sounds fun. That was fun.
That one was yours.
Yeah, I need that. That's all good. Good. This stuff really does look like wood though.
It does.
It's
Like
crazy.
especially when like those little samples, they
Yeah.
look great, but when you see it up in person, it's
Yeah,
a big piece of
I was
it.
really impressed.
You say you have 2 jobs right now that you're using or not?
Yeah.
You're honey? Nope. I thought bring something that's like a teed up and paired juice on it. You looking on that? Figured out I'm surprised.
I'll be there.
It's like he comes to the golf events, he doesn't golf.
I go and I drink it.
Do whatever you want.
Take me out there.
They were like, so you know, you guys all have expired. My office bought everybody in the company. Some nobody really.
I didn't know that till a month ago when I was doing the OSHA class. Another 5 minutes and we'll come back. All right, everyone grab a little bit more food and we'll head on in. Plenty of salad left, everyone. While you go get I'm surprised how many Hawaiian pizza there are. Guess what? I'm a fan. Right there. Mhm. Uh-oh. How are you doing? Good. I don't know. The recording, if that's the victims. I believe so. Yeah. Yeah. Don't need anything. You good? I think we're good. I think we're good. We're gonna do a little bit on green screens and loading shelves and this dormer intersection.
Ese era de viernes. De viernes. Pero yo voy ahí. Porque yo necesito hacer, vaya donde. Y es un lugar donde dicen que se están metiendo los secos. Tanto. Entonces vayan primero y
You guys ever use thread rods or lags for floating shelves?
I just use all thread for that.
Yeah. Okay. What diameter? Half inch, yeah. This is big. Yeah. I've done 3/8, but I think you could get away with 5/16 for like a narrow, for like a 6-inch shelf. Like 3/8 is so strong.
Yeah,
It turns out.
I bought lag gold.
Uh-huh.
It's like, no, get all thread.
Live and learn. We're all learning everything new. Yeah. Yeah. And I've done actually most of the ones I've done are just this like unthreaded smooth rod. You use that
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in a minute. I was just curious if people had a preferred that what we should do? You can email us food suggestions. I asked for pupusas and we got pizza. Maybe they misunderstood. It's all good though. It's all good. All right.
Great. Oh,
Yeah, I know. I'm jealous.
what?
I'm standing up. Jim Little
Now you know
Jim's-
what you need to do.
specifically told me.
You haven't
Yeah,
done
tighten
this?
this. What's that?
You never seen those
No.
online TikTok? Every time you drop something and you catch
Oh.
it, you have to try like Spider-Man. Yeah, shoot it.
Oh, okay. I will say that in all my years of being a klutz, I have gotten much better at catching things. Like I drop things in the kitchen and I catch them on my feet. You know what I mean?
Memory,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, is everybody everybody in? Is that everyone, Jamie?
We're waiting Evan here. Good.
All right, cool.
Freddie is talking to Freddie, but
Well, Freddie's busy.
Freddie's fine.
Okay.
You know
All right.
this anyway.
Actually, someone's phone was going off, and it was annoying me. It wasn't mine. Someone can, if you can check your phones. Okay, so let's talk about what goes behind. This is interesting. We're now getting into using these like the PVC beadboard and stuff like that. I think you have to be careful when you use stuff like that on the outside of a house. This is an example of the amount of water that can get through wood siding. Like all the things we put on a house have little gaps at the ends, little gaps between them. When the wind blows hard enough, or it rains hard enough, or there's ice, or there's all kinds of weird weather, we will get water through the cladding. That's why we put Tyvek on our houses, right? We wrap the whole house with this stuff to protect the house from the water that gets through the siding or the brick or whatever. But it turns out that we're learning that we need to do a little bit more on some things. So let's talk about that. We have been starting to use a drainage gap on a lot of our projects, right? This is sometimes called rain screen. Sometimes it's called, there's different words for it. But the idea is to make it very, very easy for that water that gets in to leave and dry out. And so we want to have like a little vent space and a little drain space behind certain types of cladding. So let's just talk about what we've decided we want to do. We call it level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is things that don't need any special drainage material. So we've run miles and miles and miles of like hardy plank siding, and if you do the regular siding, it has little triangular spaces behind it, right? You can see like each piece overlaps the other, so there's this little space in between them. So there's all this airspace behind them where water can dry out or run down, and it's usually not a problem in our climate. There are climates where it's a problem, but doesn't seem to be a problem in ours. But for other types of siding, like vertical, diagonal, or any of these siding profiles that are flat on the back, if you think about that, there's no triangular space behind this stuff, right? This is like a German lapped style siding. If you have no triangular space behind the siding pieces, you better make a space for water to be able to drain and evaporate. Otherwise, it'll just get stuck there. It'll soak through the protective barrier and get into the wood. So that's a level 2, and you can see in this drawing, we're showing using one of these bumpy house wraps, like Tamlin drainable wrap, or this is Benjamin Opdyke Hydro Gap. Anyone familiar with this? We've used this on a few projects. Yeah. This is a nice material. It has these little plastic bumps on it. Feel free to come up and get your hands on that later. It gives a little bit of space for air and water to move around in the back, and that's really helpful when you're using one of these more risky types of siding. So we know that the flat back ones are risky. We know that vertical sidings tend to leak. Has anyone seen that? You take apart a house with vertical siding, and you can see where water's been getting in. I mean, I learned this on one of BOWA's first projects, that vertical siding, and it leaked pretty good.
Vertical siding, like board and bat?
Any vertical profile, because water just runs down and it can work its way around the joints. The horizontal siding, it's much harder for water to go up 1.5 inches. Yeah, and then diagonal siding, I actually think is even worse because it's kind of the worst of both worlds. You get the water running down and getting in the joints. So I've seen a lot of big leaks. And then when you have this is in this example we're using hardy panel, so it's like 4x10 sheets. There will a little bit of water's going to get in there one way or another, and it really needs a way out. So we always want to have something behind that. And then the reason I brought this up, the main thing is these panels. Like, did you remember in the Versatex thing, they showed that big picture of that whole house just covered in Versatex from top to bottom? Well, Versatex is plastic. Water cannot evaporate out through that. The only way for water to get out of a Versatex panel system is if we make a space behind it for the water to drain out. So we definitely want to do that for whenever we have one of those. We're going to use one of these drain type materials. Oh, I forgot. Besides that Hydro Gap, there's some other ones like Typar has this one that has, I don't know, this one feels like it maybe isn't that great. I'll pass this around, but it has little bumps. But when we're talking about one of these really risky things like covering the whole house with panel design, not only is there going to be a lot of joints that are going to leak, but we're going to want to make sure we have space for water to drain out. And one of the easy ways to do that is to use one of these materials. Like this is called Cedar Breather. It makes a 5/16 space, and then water will drain down within that 5/16, and air can move through. So I'll just pass that for now.
Is it the same stuff? Brick, typically, or no?
Not brick. We'll get into that actually. Yeah. So all these things, these are called entangled mesh products, and that's what people are calling it. I don't know. We're just making it all up. It's all new stuff. Cedar Breather's one of the original ones. You can get that at a lot of places. This one's called Mordair Net, and it's sold for stucco and stone, but you can use it behind siding. And the ones with the fabric scrim on the front, it's they're a little bit more firm when you're nailing siding through, so it helps keep things from being wavy. This is a Tyvek branded material. They actually took off the market, so you can pass those around. But for the most part, what we're going to use and we're buying from JJ is this stuff. It's Benjamin Obdike Home Slicker. Have you guys used this stuff before? Yeah. One of the interesting things with this is it has vertical strips, and they're supposed to go up and down. You're not supposed to do it horizontally, according to the directions. Yes.
If you're using this, are you supposed to put Tyvek behind it as well?
We always put Tyvek behind all of these materials.
Okay.
Yeah. Or zip. Like we're going to have a WRB, a water-resistant barrier, felt, Tyvek, zip, something behind all of these. Then this is a material that allows water and air to move around in front of that, between the siding and that. So this is what we use the most. It's not that expensive. It's JJ has it, so that's good. And then Opdyke also has this version called Slicker Max, and it has that fabric on the front. And this is designed for stucco and stone, but again, if you want, it's a little bit more firm when you're nailing siding into it or paneling into it. So
Is it so that material's not getting into the actual fabric? And
that's right. Yeah, like you can imagine smushing stucco onto this. This keeps the stucco from filling up the space we want. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I'll just throw that in with you. Thank you. All right. Have fun with that. Okay. So yeah, again, we've already talked about this. Level 3 is when we're using one of these things with a defined space. It's like a 1/4 inch or more. Always behind stucco, behind adhered stone, behind stone veneer. These are things that are really risky that a lot of water does move through. We've had a lot of leaks, fixed a lot of leaks on other people's houses. This is a house we repaired. It was someone else built it, and it was leaking all over. We ended up taking all the stone off the whole house and putting this material on everywhere. One of the things that we're learning lately, now that we've been putting this stuff up for 10 or 15 years, is that not everyone's great at maintenance. So if the caulking starts to fail around windows, people don't always notice it. Then you get water coming in around the windows, and it's pretty important to give that water the most opportunity to dry out. So I'm starting to think it's really important to put venting at the tops of these spaces. We always would make it so water could drain out the bottom, but I think it's going to be good for us to make sure we have a way for air to leave at the top. And Nick's looking at this. Nick, you're the only one I know here who's actually done this, right? Because you did that at that deck for the folks. Yeah. So we used a corrugated plastic vent material. Then we stuck it between a couple of pieces of trim at the top, and that allowed an air passageway into the top of it. So whenever the sun hits this wall, air will come in the bottom. It'll warm up the air inside the wall, and it'll come out the top. So that really helps dry everything. And we're going to want to try to find a way to do this with stone, stucco, PVC panels, whatever it is. So have fun with that. One of the other things I'll say is, besides using all these mesh type materials, we've also done this with strips of fanfold insulation, which is 1/4 inch foam insulation. Is there, who's used fanfold before? This used to be, okay, wow. They have this at home centers. It's used behind vinyl siding. And you can get like this enormous bundle of it that you can cover an entire house with for like $50. And so it's really easy to work with. One nice thing with that is if you put it in the right place in your panel design, it'll support both pieces, like the panel piece and the trim piece will be firmly supported on both sides of that joint. So it makes it easy to keep everything in line. We already talked about that. Yeah, here we are using the strips of fanfold. You can also use strips of sill sealer if you're trying to figure out how to get this done today. No?
It's not new.
Yeah. We've done this. I know lots of people have done it. Sill sealer is cheap and easy to get, so it works really well. You can use strips of wood. That adds up. It's expensive. I did this on my own house. I was like, wow, there's like 50 extra pieces of wood on this wall. I didn't really realize how much extra work it would be, but it's a lot of extra work. This is most helpful when you have thick layers of insulation on the outside of the building, which we might do for code compliance or trying to upgrade a house, make it into like a much nicer, more comfortable house. Like if you put 3 inches of foam on the outside of your walls on a house, it's going to be super comfortable inside. So a lot of folks are doing that. There's different proprietary products you can get. And then one other thing, obviously we want to keep bugs out of these spaces. So it's pretty easy to get a roll of screening from the lumberyard or the home center and just take a circular saw or a miter saw and cut it into like a 6-inch or 8-inch strip. You staple it to the wall, put up the strips or put up the mesh, and then you flip it up on the front. And now there's no way for bugs to get in there at the bottom. Pretty straightforward. Oh, we didn't talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
So when we're attaching, burn strips or any of this mesh material, what fasteners should we be using? Because it's going to be going through our water resistant barrier. Should they have?
That's such a good question.
caps?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah. I don't think there's a great answer to that,
Okay.
unfortunately.
So
So
staples with caps isn't going to be.
no, yeah, the caps will not seal, so it doesn't. Yeah, I don't like. That's why I think there's no great answer to that.
Okay.
Yeah. I've seen regular staples and I've seen cap nails, but the cap nails are only doing so much.
It's not
Yeah.
happening.
And you just have to hold it in place until the siding's on.
Yeah.
So usually you're doing it the same day. So you just minimal number of fasteners in one time. Yeah. Good question. Oh yeah. So this slide I'm showing a couple. These are 2 different houses where we had a good drainage space. One we built, the other we were remodeling and we found it. There's a good drainage space, but there was water leaking into the drainage space, or running into it from a roof in one situation and the patio in the other. And just continually putting water into this drainage space over and over, it never had the chance to dry, and it caused significant problems. So it's very important to keep water out of these spaces as much as we can, even though there's a nice drainage space and there's ventilation and all that stuff. We don't want to deliberately let water in. So it's pretty important to have your sills sloping the right way and your windows sealed to the cladding and stuff like that. That was a surprise to me. Anyway, we have trade standards for siding, stucco, and stone and brick. And all of those things talk about exactly how to do this with lots of illustrations. So, and our trade standards are available online. All of our subcontractors get emailed a copy. They sign a thing that says they'll follow it. And if you guys ever want a copy, we have them here. In fact, you can pick one up tonight. I got a stack of them over there. And it has all kinds of, hopefully good enough pictures. Okay, cool. Any questions on that stuff? Okay. guess that was a perfect presentation then.
Are we still doing a lot of stuff?
Are we still doing a lot of stucco? Yes, sadly, sometimes we're still doing stucco. No, it's not a lot, but it's enough. We're having some problems with stucco still. That's one of the reasons why this venting, I think, is important. Adding this vent spots at the top. Okay, so any other questions on that, or we're good to go? We got none. Go ahead.
How would we be integrating like kick out flashing or things like that with this system?
How do you integrate flashings with the drainage space? Yeah.
Like a kick out
Great
flashing,
question.
like at the bottom of your brick,
Uh-huh.
with the leaf holes and all that. Like
Yeah.
how are we tying that into the house wrap or the water resistant barrier
Mhm.
with the gap here?
Everything goes behind the WRB. So we have tie back on the wall. We're gonna put all of our flashings at the bottom of the wall behind the tie back and behind the mesh and behind the siding.
Okay.
So anything that runs down in any of this is supposed to stop the water and it's supposed to all go out there.
Okay.
Yep. Good question.
Be the water girl.
That's right. I'm a little drop of water. I want to get out of the house. How am I doing the flashing? Yeah, that's good. Okay, floating shelves. We've found a few different ways to do this, and I think I just wanted to go over a couple of them. There's actually a couple that I'm curious about if people here have done that someone else hasn't. But these are different ways that I know of. Purchase brackets using like a ledger type thing where we have a hollow. We have a hollow shelf, and then you put maybe two 2x4s on the wall and try to fasten to that. But usually we're having something that sticks out, either a bracket that we buy or a bracket that we make, or we using like rods that we're making. So this is something I had never seen before recently, but Terry Kimball is using this on his job. He mail orders these. They're like $70 to $100 depending on how big they are. These ones are pretty big. They're like 2.5 by like 4 and 5 feet. And I really like the way it has these holes on the edge all the way along. So it's pretty easy to find a stud and get a couple of fasteners in each stud if you want. And the fact that this is so wide, it's actually very, very strong. We don't always have a shelf that's thick enough for these really wide ones, but if you have a 3 or 4 inch tall, deep shelf, I think this seems like a no-brainer. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's really easy to install. So I like that. Turn off the sound so we're not annoyed by it.
It's hollow on the inside.
Yeah, the shelf is hollow. Most of the shelves we get are hollow anyway, right? If they're that thick. These are ones he made, so.
Is the shelf getting secured to the bracket in any way?
That's what. So, what Terry does is he puts a little blob of construction adhesive on the back of the shelf and attaches it to the wall. And he's like, so if you try hard enough, you can get it off with a little bit of drywall damage. That seems smart. Yeah, PL. Yeah, PL glue. I think that makes sense to me. I've done stuff with screws and this, that, and the other thing. Or the other thing I'll just talk about the next one I do is when I do the rods, I drill the holes tight and I have to hammer the shelves on. They are not coming off. In fact, I brought all the stuff to do that, and then I was like, well, then I'll have this thing I can't take apart and show anyone ever again, so I'm not actually going to do it. So that was done, but we'll figure that out. Anyway, this is the other way that I see a lot on job sites. This is 1/2 inch lags for some pretty big shelves. I've gone as low as 5/16 for like a 6-inch shelf. I think with 5/16 it's nice because it's a little bit hard to get the angles totally exactly right, and you can actually bend these in place after the shelf's there. So that's kind of nice. 3/8 gets a little questionable. Maybe you youngsters can still bend that. Luis, you're in the gym all the time, so you can bend the 3/8. Anyway, you just put the lag in and then you sawzall off the head. I mean, obviously you can get these at any store. It's pretty handy, pretty easy to deal with. Another way to do it that's pretty much the same is to use a piece of all thread, which again you can get at many stores, or a piece of smooth rod. Very easy to do. All of these will work just fine. Um, anyone have a preference for which one? Okay. All right, pretty straightforward. This is one I just learned about today. Emil's always thinking. So this is a 2.5 inch wide shelf that we had to move the location of, so it's no longer on the blocking we'd installed for it. So we're just trying to hit studs. So Emil wanted something that was strong enough, and because it's a wide shelf, he bought these. And then I think you said you took the drywall out, so it was
Sitting
right on the
stuff.
stud. Yeah. So then it doesn't move around much. Yeah. This one, the thing I was thinking about this is that might be good for in a condo when you're doing metal studs, because you can't. You know, this isn't going to work on a metal stud. Yeah. No. Yeah, blocking is the way to go. You can't. All right. Anybody else have another way of doing this that they like? I have seen pre-installed brackets before where you like attach to the side of the stud and stick out, and then you drew the drywall around it. But I think I would reserve that for things that are really heavy, like a vanity.
Spiral brackets in metal.
Yeah, L brackets, exactly. Yeah. Do you ever do that for just a shelf, or do you save that for when you're doing like?
I maybe just started years ago, but.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, those are very strong. Yeah, we do those for like shower benches. I will say if we're putting up floating vanities in steel studs, I would do that. L brackets on the side of the stud, because those floating. We've had actually a couple of floating vanities bend the whole wall, so you have to really think that through. Those are heavy. Okay, good job, Emil. I like it. I think we should write into Fine Home Building and tell them about that one. And I already talked about this with all thread and smooth rod. Okay, this is getting into tools a little bit. Who uses outfeed tables on their table saws? Oh, I'm standing in the way of the video, aren't I? That's this something anyone's been doing? Yeah. You know who I learned this from? Uh-huh. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I learned this from Jim Little in like 1990. He made an outfeed table for his Makita's 8 1/4 table saw, and it makes using a table saw so much easier because the material supported all the way through the cut, and you're not wrestling it and trying to push it down on the table while trying to not cut off your fingers. So you know, these guys are ripping that 18-foot PVC, and they put up 16-foot outfeed tables, and you can see they did not waste a lot of time on it. It's extremely basic, but really, really helpful for safety, even though not everything in this video is perfect on safety.
You even just use plywood too, not just 2x.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, you should see what Jim made. I mean, he had rabbited 2x4s for the table saw to fit in. A piece of MDO plywood is a thing of beauty. Anyway, I strongly encourage that. They even make them. You know, you can buy commercial ones that clip onto they have clips that attach to your saw, and then you just drop the table on it.
I know guys that find their own like workstation that they use on the job site. It's just like a giant table wrapped around their table saw. And yeah, that's sort of like just cut 18-foot boards with ease for that.
Yeah, and you think about it, it's really to support an 18-foot board, you really only need like 9 foot of in theory. Anyway, all right. Go ahead. Yeah.
Just, what's the stance? I was always told that when you're using saws, ripping table saws like this, you shouldn't wear gloves because it's super dangerous.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Pulled in.
Yeah.
But so I've been telling people, but if that's not official BOWA, you know.
I'm not an expert on this, but I was always told don't wear gloves when you're using table saw.
No bracelets or rings either.
Yeah.
Ties.
Take off your necktie. Yeah. You have to wear an ascot. Yeah, long beard, exactly.
Long sleeve.
Luis is halfway there.
Long sleeve.
Long sleeves. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. That's only one of the things, right? I mean, they left the riving knife in this saw, but no guard. You're not supposed to do that.
But it works pretty good to use the track saw.
Use a track saw. Yeah. That's much safer. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need that though.
Right. And I mean, handling sheet materials, it's so much easier. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. No, I agree with that. That's one of the things I did not like about this. Yeah. Okay. But at the same time, I thought it was a good idea that they had that outfeed table instead of, just trying to, you know what I mean? That's like the hassle. Okay. One other quick thing I want to mention. Sometimes we're the ones who are putting down protection on a job. And I've seen this on a few jobs lately. So first of all, we never want to put something hard like masonite or thermoply directly on hardwood, because as soon as you get any little piece of material under there, it'll start to dent and scratch the hardwood when they rub. So this is we've lost so much money doing that. I mean, please don't do that. So instead of doing that, we're going to put down something soft first, like Econo-Runner or what's that stuff called? KSDropcloths.com. I forget what that material is called. You can even buy stuff that I'll show you a picture of at Home Depot. But rosin paper, literally anything. Don't put hard materials directly on hardwood as protection. Even Ramboard is not bad. The other problem we're seeing is people are getting brave about taping down to hardwood. And this is, I mean, I taped stuff to hardwood when I was in the field, and I got lucky. I never destroyed a floor. But through the history of BOWA, we've damaged many floors. I mean, again, and I don't know if anyone's had to do this, but if you have to refinish a floor in a finished house, I mean, just picture what a nightmare that is for the clients. They have to be out of their house for 2 weeks after we just finished construction. We have to have somebody there supervising for 2 weeks. You have to protect everything. You end up repainting half the trim. I mean, it's a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 problem. So it's really not worth, almost no risk makes any sense. And most floors you can tape to, and it's not a problem, but some floors are a problem. So just don't tape to floors is the short answer. Don't use the green tape, don't use the yellow tape, don't use the orange tape, don't use the blue tape. Don't tape to the floor. Tape to the baseboard. This is the thing that kills me. You can see we taped right next to the shoe mold. They could have taped to the shoe mold and we wouldn't have had a problem. Instead, we had to refinish this whole house. Oh, so frustrating. And it's so easy that you tape to the painted riser on the staircase. Don't tape to the tread. There's usually an answer. If you're working on a project and you're supposed to be taking tape off of a hardwood floor, use a hairdryer to warm it up really good. That really softens the adhesive. That can really help. But just don't do it in general. Okay. I got to get a new funny one here. But who's the Makita guy here? I mean, who's the Milwaukee guy? I know Ryan. Yeah, Ryan. The funny thing is, Ryan has like twice as much stuff as this. Easy. Yes, you do. That's what I should have put up instead. All right. Jorge, tell us about this. Did you bring it?
I have a little laser chip.
Yeah, this is so cool. So you bought the Huapar one like a year or two ago, right?
Yeah, this is like my fifth.
This is your fifth laser. Okay, all right.
2 years.
Is that a
Wow.
three-plane laser?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a small one.
it's funny because it looks like one of those Temu things where you think it's this big and then it turns out it's that big. But it actually works,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you want to burn all of our eyes out? Okay, don't look directly in the... That's too funny. You actually did hit my eye. But just look how thin it is. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
This is almost as good as Dante's blower. Oh my god. Workers' comp.
Well, let's all go to Brittany's office after. Tell her we got lasered in the eye. That would be so funny. Anyway, thank you for bringing that in. I mean, don't turn it back on, but the line is very narrow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
it is.
The other one is thicker.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. And it's
How much?
It's around $100.
$100, right? Yeah, it is. And it's green, which is nice. Yeah.
I have the remote.
Oh, it has a remote? No kidding. Okay.
So they have a.
So you don't have to shoot yourself in the eye when you're turning it on?
To move up if you need to.
Oh,
move
look
up
at
a little.
that. Super fancy. Oh, I like that.
Little micro.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right, Jorge, thank you for bringing that in. That was fun. Really like that. I had another tool I was going to talk about, and I left it at home. Next time.
I have some
Next time.
gigs.
Yeah, let's talk about this. You want to come up with those, or you want to just? You don't have to. You can stay there.
3 or 4 kind.
Okay. Oh, he's coming up. Good. Cool. Give you room here. So Jorge builds a lot of cabinets on site, and I noticed that he has more than one shelf pin. So I want to hear about it.
This is a old one.
Okay.
This is the same kind of like this one is
Uh-huh.
bigger, so
Okay.
this is better.
Uh-huh.
The price is 10 times that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
But it's worth it because it's bigger.
yeah, this
yeah,
one
yeah.
is better.
And these are these, what's this? Is there a standard size for this? Is it like 10 millimeter?
Yeah, some of them use the big.
Okay. It's like a special self-centering bit.
Yeah, they have two sizes, so 4-inch and 5
Okay.
millimeters.
Okay. So it's
that's
self-centering. Ow. I found the
Yeah.
sharp edge on this one. Oh, so it goes all the way in.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotcha.
So,
That's really easy.
yeah, it's really
Okay.
easy, and it's secure because you have to put a couple pins,
Okay.
so you can continue doing.
Right.
Yeah,
All the way up.
it's this one is all one,
Okay. On that one, the holes are bigger on that one.
but I don't recommend this one.
Okay. So these are made of like phenolic, right? These are
Yeah.
it's kind of very hard plastic. Does that help it last better than the soft plastic one?
Yes, because this one is sometimes get hot and.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Like when it just warms up and melts. Yeah, that's not good.
So
So
I have for smaller areas this one.
oh, look at that.
This is cheaper too.
Okay. Well, how much are we talking for each of these?
This one is like $105.
Okay.
And this one is like 30.
Okay. And how about this one? They don't make it anymore. Doesn't matter.
Century.
Last century. It's from the 1900s.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. All right. Thanks as always. You put in the effort. We really appreciate it. It's good having a real expert here. Thanks. Nice job. A little jealous, honestly. Has anyone used the Festool guide rail with the 32 millimeter holes? Have you tried that?
No.
Okay.
I
Anyone
don't-
else try that? Yeah, I know. That's like you could buy a car or you could buy the Festool. But they have the tracks, and then they have a router guide thing that fits on the track, and then there's holes, and it locks into the bit. But I don't know. Everything has to line up for that. Obviously the track's too long to fit inside a cabinet, so it's not that helpful for retrofit stuff. Okay, great job, Jorge. Thank you for that. Well, we already talked about that. Okay, and now JJ ordered us all free hook blades that did not get here in time, he says. But supposedly he's bringing us free hook blades, so we'll talk about that another day. But I still think that's the way to go. Like I said, I carry a hook blade in all of my utility knives, and like I was using it today to cut up all this sheet material. Is really good. I wrote this thank you, JJ, prematurely. No thanks, JJ. Where's our hook blades? Okay, so let me get into one more thing here. Not going to do anything with this. Let's see if we can see this. Can everyone see me if this is here, or do you want me to slide it out any? You can see it fine, right? Okay. All right. I don't knock it over the camera. Okay, so thanks, Jim. When we're working on where a dormer roof intersects with the other roof, we have actually had we've had a couple of issues there. It's a kind of a complicated corner, right? To roof, if you're trying to put roofing paper here and have it all seal up, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So, and this is this is like a really, really, really nice building we built. And the car that the leak was dripping on is worth like more than I'll make in my entire life. I mean, it's a problem if we have a leak in one of our houses. So this is kind of how we've come up with this. And this is not simple, but there is a way to just make it simplify it somewhat. Instead of having all these gaps, we're going to try to just either put in a subfascia block in the last bay, like that, right? I think subfascia is the key. You want to have more surface here so we can overlap the roofing materials easier. You can either do a block between the rafters like that, just in the last bay, or you can run a subfascia the whole way, you know, like this. One or the other of those, I think, is the way to go, because then you just have much more stuff you can stick stuff to. It makes it a lot easier to close up any of the gaps. So let me just pin this in place. See if we can do this live. This is exciting. I don't want to burn out any microphones. Brother, I'm telling you. I swear I used to be a good carpenter. That was back in the day. All right, so we are gonna, when we go to do this roof, they're gonna put down a strip of ice and water membrane, right? How far up the sidewall are we going? How far up the sidewall? Here. 6 inches. Yes. Why 6 inches? Because you can see it over the step flashing. It really only needs to be like 3 inches, I think. Anyway, and we're going to overlap. We're going to leave it wild off the side so that the trim is underneath it, and the same thing at the bottom. We're going to leave it so the trim can be installed underneath it, and it can be stuck to the face of the trim. So that's the ice membrane. Then we're going to put on some regular roofing paper. We're going to do the same thing, 6 inches up. We're going to come out as far as we can, go up as high as we can. We're going to hang it wild off the edge. And then we're going to put a little piece. I can make this so you can see it. You can't. We're going to try to cover this joint as best we can. Speaking of as best we can, got my hook blade. So now, you know, this side here is pretty protected. Instead of having that open gap, water's really going to be heading down the roof that comes off this valley. Remember, there's going to be a lot of water in the valley. Valleys concentrate water. And then we're going to put the valley on. And we're going to kind of run that wild down over this. And we're going to try to cut that also. So that's pretty good, right? If you can get the material on the side and on the roof and then over top of it all, we're in pretty good shape. And then of course we're going to put the pieces on here. You know, we're going to continue up the roof with the regular stuff. But I think if we can get all this on, we're going to be in okay shape. Now, I did put too much on here, didn't I? Because this is all going to be hidden or whatever, not hidden. So the thing there. It's going to be something like that. Before we put the trim on, we're going to want to put step flashing. You know, like here, something like that. And then that's not it. When we put the trim on, it's protected from that with the flashing too. How far does PVC have to be away from the roof for clearance? 2 inches? What do we think? PVC. PVC you can put right on the roof if you want. I mean, you have to leave room for the shingles. but there's no clearance requirement. With wood and fiber cement, you do have to be 2 inches away from the roof. But with PVC, no problem. So that's one of the reasons we use PVC a lot, or boral. Both of those can be put right down on the roof, so there's no gaps to have a weird conversation with your clients about. Go ahead.
How similar is boral to like the cement board?
Boral's really plastic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's polyurethane. It's got a little bit of other stuff in it, but
And no water.
yeah, it's pretty water resistant. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to show. Sometimes it's a little bit weird of what do you do up under here, right? Like I'm touching bare plywood here, and I'm not gonna be able to get shingles up in here or underlayment. So something that I've done on occasion is try to tuck a piece in there like that, like put a whole block. This is pretty tall, I think. If I were really doing this, I'd keep this to like 2 or 3 inches tall. But you can put a little box back in here like that, and then wrap the underlayment up that. And then it's much easier to handle a vertical thing like this than this disappearing triangle. So that's another thing you can do. All right, any thoughts on any of that? Who's got a better way to do this, first of all? Is that okay? Kind of, go ahead, Jim.
Besides the rain,
Mm-hmm.
critters can get in there.
Yeah.
For years, I've been battling flying squirrels in my house. Every year they come in the winter, and they fly around my house, and I have to catch them, take them outside. With this condition right here, Doug, where that block is.
Right.
If I had a block like that,
Right.
so I foamed it up. I put chicken wire. It's disgusting, but it stopped the squirrels from getting in.
Foam and chicken wire.
Do the same thing to my parents.
Yeah. Alex just spent half a day putting foam and chicken wire in someone's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that it took me a long time to think about is especially the mouse passageways that you build into the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be careful with that. It's not a good house if mice are running around it all the time. Yeah, that's a really good point. So yeah, I do like this for that. This is a very manageable thing instead of this, thing that just disappears in there and you can't even get your hands in. All right, any other thoughts on this? Good, bad, do, don't? I mean, one of the things that we wrote in this article is, let me click the next slide. What do I do with the clicker? Click it out. There it is. Yeah, obviously when we're putting the trim on, if the roofing hasn't been put on yet, we're not going to nail the last like 2 feet or 18 inches so they can bend the trim out and slide flashings up behind it. That makes sense, right? Then someone will definitely remember to go back up there and nail it.
No, sure.
Anyway, it is nice to have the sub fascia there for that because you don't have to worry about the nailing on the exact rafter. Sub fascia is also really good for helping gutters stay attached to houses. That's one of the main reasons I like it. I also think it's less work than putting all those lookouts and all that stuff we used to do. But that's just me. Okay. Any more thoughts or questions on that? Wow. Okay. I think we already talked about this a little bit, but let me just get into the hardwood floors. This is one we peeled the finish off of with the tape. Don't do that. We already talked about that. To me, this is a really nice protection job. This is really nice. This is really nice. This is really nice. We're using a lot of rainboard. It's kind of like a good compromise. It's not nearly as expensive as the 2-layer stuff. Anyway, try to help the project managers use Econo-Runner. Like if they're telling you to put stuff down, just say, where's the Econo-Runner? They should have ordered it. Paper's risky. For very short-term stuff, this is an enclosure Freddie built in an existing house after it's completed. Completed house, I should say. Really nice. 2 layers of fabric and, nice zip wall. Really good. This is stuff you can get. If people forgot to buy Econo-Runner, you can go to Home Depot and buy this stuff. It's sold as underlayment for Pergo. So, I don't know. And then we already talked about that. Okay. That was all I wanted to talk about. Actually, Renee, you taught me this trick. It's an area rug, and you flip the carpet protection under the edge. Nice job. You don't remember? Yeah. That was a while ago, and you and I are not getting any younger, so. All right. Okay. Thanks for the time, everybody. That's everything that we have. I think we're going to be able to get out of here a little bit early. Yeah, isn't that nice? I don't know. I'm trying to find the final slide here, but maybe it's too far down to even find. Is that it? There we go. We'll be mailing out a survey, and you can tell us if the pizza was any good, or, you know, I don't know. That was pretty good pizza. It was. Yeah. Like I said, I requested pupusas, but we got pizza. It's not bad. It's not bad. All right. Okay, good. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. Have a good night. Oh, does anyone know where the parking things are? I do. Jim will. Okay, cool.
Nice.
Thanks.
Anytime.
Funny you mentioned the blades. I just discovered those, like, using them as a
They're so rare.
Thank you very much. When they come